And here we go. It is another moment here, or two. There we go. Just set that up prior to, right? We go, get the hair straightened out. We got a viewer, we're good. Let's kill the music, put on the comments. We're all set to go here. And here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, how many people do you speak to? Question. I'll give you a second to answer that. I don't mean a one on one conversation, although sometimes it is a one on one conversation. Maybe all the time it should be a one on one conversation. When you're giving a presentation and you're doing it online, or if you're doing it in person, or if you're doing it in a small group, does it really matter how you present? There's small nuances that go along with it, but the answer to that is no, really is not. There's a common factor in there is you always should be speaking to a person, not to a group. You're always speaking to a person because you want those people in the audience to understand, to get the idea that you're speaking directly to them. Original thought on my side? Nah, no. I got to give credit over here to Darren LaCroix, on that one. At one of our Toastmaster meetings, he was pretty clear about that whole thing. Let me just share the screen here. We give him credit for that one. But he brought it up when he was explaining. There we go. We get a little Darren LaCroix promotion in there. Darren is part of Toastmasters, won the International Speech Contest a number of years ago. And then he built a speaking business or continued on with the speaking business surrounding it. A lot of the things he said make a whole lot of sense. Great presenter. One of the things that absolutely resonated is that when you are getting on stage, Zoom, or on stage, and you're speaking in front of people, 10, 100,000 people, you're speaking to a person. Think about it this way. If somebody always groups you in on something and they just are not, or speaking to you generically, you're part of something. You're part of a group. You're part of everything, but it's not you. And from an audience standpoint, someone sitting in the audience, it's tougher. It's tougher. Because if you get a presenter on stage that says, how many of you, and Darren's website, by the way, is darrenlacroix.com. But if you're sitting in the audience, now let's go flip back over here. If you're the one sitting in the audience and you're just constantly clumped together with everyone, and it's always how many of you kind of conversations or how many of you questions that come up, and it's always many people, not you. It's tougher to put yourself into that scenario where you can see what the speaker is talking about. See what the speaker is talking about and get the impression, the feeling, and that there's 100 people surrounding you, but you get the feeling that that speaker is speaking to you, that the message that they are delivering is resonating with you. It's very important for the speaker to do that, because if not, then you as the audience member just never going to relate to that speech in a manner that you possibly can. I keep going with this one gentleman as an example of it, and he gave a presentation, and it was a story. It was a story about his own success, but it's not relatable in any way, shape, or form. It just didn't work. It really didn't work. When Darren came up at one of our Toastmaster conferences and gave a presentation, he had people come up on stage and give their opening to whatever their presentation was. And he corrected it, right then and there. He showed them and gave suggestions as to what they could do differently. Want to know something? I never stood up. I wasn't one of those people that got up there to give my opening to a presentation. But I saw myself. In each one of those people say, hey, how would I have introduced that? What do I normally say? And it was really good for Darren to do that because he actually used a visual aid. He used those people, which represented me, And all of us in the room, because we were all wanted to be better speakers. That's what Toastmasters is all about. But he represented these volunteers represented all of us, because we keep making, or we were able to see ourselves by doing that. Now, who did Darren speak to? Well, actually, he really truly spoke to that one person, the person on stage. But when he did it, and when he turned around to us, he explained to us, not everyone here, but you, and slowly made the eye contact with all of us, every one of us in that room. I don't know how many people, whether it was 100, 150 people, 200 people, whatever it was, it doesn't make a difference. Because I actually thought he was talking to me. He made the eye contact in my area. Was it directly with me? I like to believe it was, but I had no idea. Not reality, but in perception, I thought he was talking to me. And that, real, my friends, is really the thing that you're after as a speaker. Are you speaking to one or 100? And does it really make a difference? And the answer is no, it definitely does not. Giving any presentation that you deliver, even if you're sitting across the table from a person or two people, or in a room or on Zoom, always speak to the person. You, not everyone here, just you. And I'll give you the example of here. How many of you spend too much time focusing on where to go on vacation, not what you're going to do on vacation? Do you spend too much time focusing on where you're going to go on vacation, not what you want to do on vacation? You ask me. Well, let me ask you actually. Which one spoke to you? How many of you, or you? It's always the you. Always do that. Now, is it easier to do it or harder to do it if you're on Zoom or one of the broadcasting platforms? If you're on Zoom, or if you're doing it in person, and the answer is it's definitely different, because you have to make some assumptions when it comes to doing it online. And that assumption is that you are connecting with the audience. It's hard, much, much harder to get that visual cue from people. Now, I understand that many folks have decided to do these surveys, these polls, do these surveys and polls to see what everybody's feedback is. But you want to know something? I'm not a big fan of that. Because what happens there is it kind of breaks the routine. It breaks the momentum. It doesn't really allow you as the speaker to really flow through things. There are always situations where a poll is something that's good, and maybe it steers the way that the conversation is going to go. So, all right, let's stick with that 80-20 rule. There's always some 20% of everything that's a little bit different as that goes along. So I know you're thinking of something there. It's like, wait, I know this one situation. Okay, I'll give you that. There's always this one situation where that goes. You want to find out who your audience is? Do a poll in the middle of it? No. Better way of doing that, it's a little harder, I'll give you that. But better way of doing that is speak to your audience in the beginning. Yeah, speak to your audience in the beginning. In other words, show up early. Now, if you're doing a live presentation, an in-person presentation, you're always going to show up early. You're going to be there. You have your cup of coffee or whatever it is. You do your little routine, get on stage prior to your presentation. There was another something that Darren brought up. Guy's got a lot of information that's very good. This way you're comfortable with it. You know what you need. You know how the computer's going to work. If you're the one changing the slides, if you're using them, if you got handouts, you have them all together. All good. But get there early enough. And then when people come in, greet them. Say hello. Hey, I'm doing the presentation today. And yeah, just glad you're attending, stuff like that. See if you can find out a little bit about that person in the beginning. You want to find out if they have speaking experience, if you're going to be sitting there coaching them on speaking experience, you can ask. You don't have to say, hey, you can ask that politely. When was the last time you gave a presentation? You're going to get the answer. Oh, I never did. Or just last week or whatever it was. And then you can have a little conversation about that and then get an idea as to what your audience is before you give your presentation. Now, when you're up there, you know who your audience is, you know what their experience level is in general, and you could design your speech based on that. I know a lot of times we don't really know who our audience is as much as we like to think that those event planners or that company or whatever is putting people into seats for us, that they're all at the same level. They're never. It's never everybody at the same level ever. So by you having a conversation with them in advance, you now have a better idea as to what the experience level is, what the talent level is, what the goal of your audience is as a group. Zoom, tougher, tougher. You got to make your own coffee because you're at home or you're in your office, wherever you're at. So you can't have the facility make you coffee. That doesn't really work. Unless, of course, you're blessed to be doing it from the facility. You got a whole production crew and everything like that. That'd be nice. But you could still do that. You can still have that little conversation in the beginning. Start it. Make sure you sign on early. This way, you're there when people sign on early. Which is nice. Have a conversation. Throw it up in the chat room. In the chat box, and maybe get some feedback that way. If you have the ability to ask out loud, ask, and then listen in as to what people are talking about, or listen to what the people are talking about and get some feedback over there. But I'm certainly not a fan of those polls in the middle of it. If anything, let them answer those questions in the beginning. In other words, when those people get that online invitation to it, have a little survey included in that one. What's your speaking experience? What's your level of knowledge about whatever your topic is? Why is this of interest to you? It's a good way to get to know your audience there. And then when you are presenting, a couple of things are going to happen now. One, you have a much better idea who your audience is, right? So when you're speaking to your group of people, you are speaking to a scenario. You're speaking to a level of knowledge of that group that you now know. So you could be much more specific as to what your comments are. And the more specific you are to those comments, the more they can see themselves in whatever scenario that it is that you are painting. That's what it's about. Because now you are just naturally going to speak to that group of people, however many people there are, but you're going to speak to that group of people as if they were one person. Why? Because you're speaking to one scenario. That's it. Just one scenario. Will you wind up leaving a few people out? Perhaps. Perhaps you will. Maybe you throw something in at the end. For those of you who fit into a slightly different category, but still, I don't, even that, I wouldn't necessarily do. Where you can get that information, because if you're good doing that presentation, and you will be good because you know exactly who you're talking to, those other people that are on the fringes, the 20% that don't fall into that category, that scenario that you put together, they're going to be sitting there, they're going to be listening to that presentation, and they can say, well, maybe I'm close to that, or I understand that, but not this. I wonder if, isn't that the best kind of question that your audience member can have? I wonder if. You might be thinking, no, man, no way. You want to get up there. You want to inspire them. You want to give them the information that they need. You want to tell them exactly what to do. You don't want them wondering. You don't want them questioning. But the answer is yes, you do. Yes, you do. This goes more toward those people that are speaking and building their brand. This goes to the folks that are out there that are not necessarily getting paid to speak, but they're getting paid when they get hired as a coach. Because if you can on that stage, camera or in person, if you can on that stage talk about specifically to a situation, people are going to, in their minds, go, well, maybe that's me. Or I wonder if. And that I wonder if he would help, she would help, that person would help me in my situation. It's not exactly what they were talking about, but it's close. Or I'd like to aspire to be that. I'm going to get in touch with them. Oh, oh, isn't that isn't that what your goal is when you're giving a presentation? To have your audience member, they may not say it out loud, and it's definitely more challenging on Zoom, on any of the digital platforms when you're doing that than it is in person. In person, you're there, you finish your speech, you hand out your business card or whatever your handout that you're going to give them after your presentation, not before, but after your presentation. They have your name, contact information, the rest of that stuff. But if you're doing a live presentation, all right, oh, it's good, right? You're there, you're in the room, you're hanging out. We're back to another cup of coffee, perhaps a donut, perhaps something healthier to eat than a donut. But you're there in the room, you get a chance to mingle, you get a chance to say hello, they'll approach you, you have those conversations, collect what information you can, and do it that way. Zoom? Here's my suggestion on that one. Because you have now inspired those people that have been listening to your presentation. You've inspired them to reach forward a little bit more so. You spoke about that scenario. You've shared your knowledge. You have told them how easy it is, or how many hurdles they have to get through, or how to approach those hurdles, or what's needed in the way of resources to achieve the next step, or their short term goals, or their long term goals. You have told them what they needed to know. And you have given them the confidence to move forward. You've given them the confidence to trust you, that know, like, and trust thing. Now they trust you. They have to reach out to you. How many Zoom meetings? Reality. How many Zoom meetings? And it's, oh, gotta go, click, by God. Who was on that meeting? Well, there's a couple of ways of capturing that information. One is you copy the screen. This way you know who was there. Hopefully those folks that are there put down their first and last name, not just first name. They put down first name. Who knows? Hopefully, maybe when you do that Zoom meeting, you're able to get the list of attendees that came to it. That's a possibility. Hopefully, you made a suggestion on that meeting, or the event planner, whoever coordinated, person who introduced you, made the suggestion that everybody should put their contact information in the chat boxes. And once they do that, you could download that chat. Don't leave the meeting. You can download that chat. They could leave the meeting, but then you could save the chat. And now you have everybody's contact information to do that. All good. Problem is, and it's always going to be, you're always going to be relying on somebody else when it comes to capturing that information. Remember, your job is to inspire. Your job is to motivate. Your job is to build trust. Your job is to have them see themselves potentially in that scenario that you're talking about. But here's the thing that really, I think, can really help when it comes to these digital meetings, the Zoom meetings, all the rest of that kind of stuff. That would be the time for a survey. Not asking, how did I do? let's go back to Toastmasters on the how did I do? All right. How did I do? Well, when you do the how did I do thing, that's not going to help you out. That's not going to help you out in establishing your credibility. You can't just ask, I got to delete this message. You can't just, there we go. You can't just ask everybody how did they do because now it's like, they're confident in what you did. That's not good. No. Now, you want to find out how'd you do? Join Toastmasters, give a presentation. The Toastmaster meeting is all about people that want to give better speeches, be more effective leaders. And the design of that is what Dara did at the conference is to have people speak, you speak, and then to get feedback from another one of your members on your presentation. Was it a good opening, body, and conclusion? Did it make sense? Did you use filler words? Was it understandable? Was it relatable? All those kinds of things. Did you use body language? Yeah, body language is a part of it. Vocal variety, that's another part of the whole thing. That's where you're asking for feedback. That's where you're asking for feedback on how did you do. At that meeting, no. The survey, no. And if you're just asking, hey, would you like more information? Okay. You want to know something? No. That sounds like a sales pitch. You want to give away something. Definitely want to give away something. Make sure there's a download. The download is on your website. Give them the link over to your website and then download the presentation that you just gave. Because if you were that exciting to listen to, they were probably not taking notes. And heck, if you were on Zoom, hey, maybe the reality is half the people were there that were not really there, but they were there, but they, whatever. They turned the camera off and they're just whatever, names. Maybe they put pictures up, maybe not, the rest of it. But now you are getting in front of them again with the download of that presentation. They signed up for it. They signed up for that presentation. There had to be some interest, some inkling of interest that they had in it. So sending them a link afterwards with a recap, make it your notes, a little bit more than just your notes from the meeting, from your outline of what you were speaking about. Maybe it's a pamphlet you have together, a little marketing piece you have together. Maybe it's a link over to another video. Maybe it's a small 5-minute video or a series of videos where you speak about being a more effective speaker or you speak about whatever your area of knowledge is. Now you're going to wind up capturing their information because now they're going to your website. You're also going to wind up giving yourself another opportunity to get in front of those people. You're going to give yourself an opportunity to continue to build your brand. You're going to give yourself an opportunity to speak. Here it comes. One-on-one again. Because your video that you do speaks to that person that's listening. I'm glad you decided to join us today. This video is focused on you, the person who came here to collect more knowledge about whatever your topic is. You're speaking to one-on-one, even though you're just speaking to a camera. Trust me, man, I'm speaking to a camera. You get used to it after a while. You're just speaking to the camera. You need a little bit of assistance. You need to look at somebody, take a picture of somebody, and put it behind the cameras where you're looking. Make eye contact with the picture. All right. You can't just stare at the screen. That doesn't work. You're looking down, you're looking up, whatever. Just a picture of somebody this way there. But do those videos, handouts, anything like that. But get that information out. Get that information out to everybody again. Maybe the event planner will do it for you because you can't do it. I've had that situation. I've given presentations at a facility where they were not allowed to give me the attendees. I was able to get the attendees' names if I wanted to. So, a bowl for the business card or putting everybody's names, getting everybody's names in that chat box. And, I could download that. That was all fine. As long as they knew, those attendees knew that I was getting the information. But if they were just giving the information to that center just to register, then the information was going to the center, was not going to me, and that was the line in the sand with that one. Oh, good. We're going to run across that quite frequently. It just is what it is. Networking events, they're probably a lot more open with it, but it depends where you speak. In libraries, again, it depends. But be prepared. And that's the point of it. Be prepared for you to get the attendees, get their information. Let's recap. How do you do it? It's easy. Paint the picture. That's right. Whether you're speaking online or if you're speaking in person, you need to paint the picture. Figure out the scenario that you're going to focus on. Not you're speaking to 32 people or 100 people, but you're speaking to one person scenario. One person scenario. And if that scenario is representative of the group, do the best that you possibly can to go find that out. Then many of those people, hopefully most of those people, granted, it'd be great if it was all of those people. Probably won't be. But if most of those people, half of those people, a certain percentage of those people saw themselves in that presentation and related to the presentation that you gave, and they now know you, they have now grown to like you because you spoke to them individually, not them as a group, and they've learned to trust you. They're going to reach out to you, and you're going to make it as easy as possible because you're giving them the information and you're giving them an actionable idea to go to your website, to download the information because it's information that they could use. You're going to give them some actionable ideas too during your presentation because when they implement them, they're going to remember you. And that's why it's so important to do those actionable ideas on each one of them. To do that, next time you give a presentation anyplace, online or in person, figure out the scenario that addresses to most people. Make sure that you are speaking to them as one person, and also give them a reason to go back to your website to download additional information or a recap of the presentation you gave. That's how you're going to build it out. That's how you'll build your brand. That's how people will see you, get to know you, and enjoy listening to you because you provide value each and every time that you give a presentation. And I know you can do it. You want help on giving presentations? I don't get paid for this. And that was a question that came up earlier today, but I am a big supporter of Toastmasters International. Darren LaCroix and so many other folks that have won this international champion have come to these different conventions that we do, conferences that we do. Great stuff. The meetings that we have, there's tons of meetings. There's tons of locations, in person, hybrid, or online. My club, the club I'm in, it meets online. At this point in time, we are going to stay online. I'm actually in favor of online, mostly because, well, I do video. And that's my thing. When I get a chance to speak in front of a live group of people, man, it's exciting. Love to see the faces. Love to see people in person and do those live things. It's like a treat. My feeling now is if you could be effective giving a Zoom meeting, if you could be effective online, you could be effective anyplace. So take that step. Join a Toastmaster club, hire a speaking coach, do whatever it is. Do comedy. Get on a comedy stage. Get on a comedy stage. You do stuff like that. As I said to this person before, you survive a comedy routine, you can do anything. You can do absolutely anything. Just do it. Take those steps and go out there and do it. All right. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank you. Forget about everybody. Boy, I just blew that one, huh? I want to thank you for joining me today. Speak in singular terms. It's a great thing. It is that one-on-one relationship, whether you speak it to one or 100. It doesn't make a difference. Have a great day, great weekend. Great weekend, everybody. Oh, don't forget, speak well, speak often, live inspired. Can't forget your closing either.